Most of us would define engagement as simply doing something. But in the book Activate, student engagement is defined as doing something that facilitates learning. Within our classroom instruction, we need to look for ways to activate and engage our students, and I want to share 3 big areas where we could do this. There is an undeniable connection between the brain and its capacity to learn new and complex information and physical movement. So the first area we could up engagement is in planning for movement within our daily instruction. We know how exhausting it is to sit around and do nothing, like sitting through a long day of PD or in-service training. How about a long road trip? This notion of just laying around is exhausting. But the opposite is true. We do some of our best thinking when we're up and moving, when we're walking the dog, taking a shower, or exercising. One of my favorite planned movement activities comes from Katherine Mills Hernandez's book, Activate, and it's called Walk and Talk. If you've been sharing content with students and they've been taking it in, passively sitting for a little while, then one of your ideas might be to generate a question, a prompt, a couple statements on the board. Have students quietly and individually ponder them. Then get up, find a partner, and walk and talk around the classroom. They literally take 2 or 3 laps around the classroom, digesting their thoughts about the question, the prompt, or the statement. Of course, you're going to have to roll out the procedures for walk and talk. You're going to have to talk about how do you choose a partner, what is the path we're going to take around the room, and what's an appropriate pace. But after that, I can simply introduce the topic I want them to think and then walk and talk about. And this 2 or 3 minute activity wakes up their brains and gets them thinking about your content. That leads to the second area where we could up engagement. Beyond movement, we could also increase the talk that's happening in the classroom. Let's be honest, who's the most engaged person in the classroom? Who's doing the talking? Who's walking around the room? Who's writing on the board? Who's thinking and changing their voices? Us. We're the most active and engaged person in our own classrooms. This is a problem. Learning sticks when students have a chance not just to ingest, take in, passively listening and collecting information, but also digest that information. So, about every 15 to 20 minutes of you covering content, stop and have your students think through with a partner. Now, you could just do a turn and talk where they pivot and talk to one other person briefly about what they're thinking. Or you can make it a little more engaging and add movement with a timed mingle. The strategy Timed Mingle is another one from the Activate book. It starts with a typical turn and talk between 2 students. After a few moments of discussing, then have them stop and move or mingle around the room and find another new partner to then turn and talk about the same content. Now, they might share what they said earlier. They might share what their partner said to them earlier, but nonetheless, they hear something new. Again, few moments of discussion, then stop, mingle again to find a third partner and engage in a turn and talk. This is a great way to vary your turn and talk, extend it a little more, and really get kids to focus in on the content. You move around the room and eavesdrop on the different conversations so that when we reconvene as a whole class, you can point out things you heard or clarify misconceptions or really engage in the next step of learning. We're trying to activate students' learning through movement, talk, and number 3, space, the physical space or environment of your classroom. There's a lot of talk out there about flexible seating right now, and it's awesome, but I want to talk about the entire classroom being a flexible space for learning. Depending on the content you want to share and how you want students to engage with it, There are times within the class period that you might ask students to move the furniture. If the students have been sitting in their desk groupings or in rows, but now you want to engage in a whole class conversation, then let's set it up so we can see each other. Maybe that includes adjusting the furniture into the horseshoe setup. Or if you know we want to work with a partner and then share in small groups, maybe we first identify who their partner is and then who their small group will be. If we want the students to start in small groups and discuss things and then share out with a representative, you might try time to represent. This includes bringing a chair to the front of the room for each of the groups to send a representative up to share out what they discussed. If you want to have small group conversations that are intimate while the rest of the class listens in, the fishbowl is another option. Each of these different desk formations is detailed in the print article that corresponds with this video. You can learn more there. But what I want you to hear is that you shift the furniture because it enhances the learning purpose. It's not for entertainment. It's so that students can engage in the content better because of how they're positioned. And here's a bonus. When we get up to move the furniture, we're again moving.